Talofa, and welcome to The Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really, really vital for our Samoan community, both here and those listening abroad.
Talofa, yes. It's about how we best support our young women, our teenagers, who find themselves pregnant while they're still trying to finish school.
Exactly. We've been digging into this report, looking at support systems in Samoa and American Samoa. And the goal here, for you, our listener, is to really get a clear picture of the challenges, the different ways people are thinking about this, specifically in our Samoan context.
That's the core of it, isn't it? This big question, should pregnant teens just, stay in the regular school system, or do we need something different, some alternative setup that might work better for them, for the schools, for everyone here in Samoa?
And this report gives us a lot to work with, numbers on how often this happens, current policies, the cultural side of things, which is huge.
And the arguments for different approaches. Yeah, lots to unpack.
Okay, let's jump right in then. To start, just how common is teenage pregnancy in Samoa? What kind of numbers are we talking about?
Well, the report gives us some figures. For 2022, it mentions an adolescent fertility rate that's births per 1,000 girls aged 15 to 19 of 44.
Okay, 44 per 1,000.
Yeah, and interestingly, it says that was pretty consistent with 2023 as well. If you look back a bit, to 2018, the rate was a bit higher, 54.9 per 1,000.
So it fluctuates a little.
It seems so. And the 2016 census data suggested something like 5% of girls in that 15-19 age group had already given birth. So yeah, the numbers aren't static. You definitely need to interpret them carefully.
And I think you mentioned something about differences within Samoa, not just one number for the whole country.
Right. The report hints at that. It suggests that overall, fertility rates tend to be higher in rural areas compared to urban spots.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible that teenage pregnancy rates could also be higher in some regions than others, which, matters a lot when you think about resources and support. Needs might be different depending on where you are.
Definitely. So with that as a background, what are the actual rules or policies in Samoan schools right now? What's the Ministry of Education and Culture's official stance?
Well, the MEC, the Ministry of Education and Culture, they strongly, strongly encourage pregnant teenagers to stay in school. It's part of their whole inclusive education policy.
Inclusive education.
Yeah, basically recognizing that students have different needs, and pregnancy is one situation that needs support, not exclusion. They really push for open talks between the school, the parents, and the student herself.
Communication is key, I imagine.
Absolutely, to make sure these young mothers can, keep up with their studies, finish their exams, all that.
That makes sense, especially with the importance of family in Samoa. And are there practical things, too, like day-to-day stuff?
Yes. For instance, they generally allow pregnant students to attend classes without the standard uniform, just for comfort. It seems small, but it can make a difference.
I bet.
And then there's the 2015 National Safe Schools Policy. That's a big one. It specifically aims to stop pregnant girls from dropping out.
Okay, so it's explicitly addressed.
Yes. The policy talks about providing support, trying to reduce the stigma they might face at school, and making sure they can come back after the baby is born without hassle.
So let's be super clear. There's no official rule in Samoa stopping a young woman from returning to school after childbirth.
No, absolutely not. The ministry is committed to creating positive, safe learning environments for all students, and that explicitly includes pregnant students and young mothers.
That sounds positive on paper. But we all know Samoa has a unique cultural context. How does Fa Samoa, our culture, play into all this? It must be complicated.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge factor. There's definitely cultural sensitivity around, unmarried students being pregnant. That's undeniable.
Right.
But at the same time, there's also this growing understanding, I think, across society about how important education is for these young women's futures and for their children's futures, too.
So maybe a shift happening.
Perhaps. It's interesting, the report mentions some traditional views might have sort of seen pregnancy almost like an illness with certain restrictions, but that might be changing or at least being balanced by other values.
And Samoan culture also has ways of dealing with difficult situations.
Right.
Mechanisms for reconciliation.
Exactly. That's a crucial point. Things like famagalo, forgiveness and making things right, and falogatama, which is about welcoming and accepting the child. These cultural practices can be incredibly powerful in reducing stigma.
That's really important context.
Very much so. And the report also noted that students themselves see teenage pregnancy as a big issue, and they really stress how important parental guidance is.
What about sex education? Does the report connect that?
It does. It points to the lack of mandatory comprehensive sex education in schools as a contributing factor, both potentially to the pregnancy rates themselves and also to the stigma around it.
Makes sense. Less understanding can lead to more judgment.
Precisely. And the report also bravely touches on the really tough issue of pregnancies resulting from sexual abuse. It emphasizes the need for compassion and support in those cases, absolutely not blame.
So it's this real tension, isn't it, between maybe some older norms and this push for education and rights.
That sums it up well. A complex interplay.
Okay, so given all that complexity, let's look at the arguments for making sure pregnant students stay integrated in the school system here in Samoa. What are the main benefits the report highlights?
Well, first off, the academic benefits. Staying in school means they keep learning, they finish their qualifications, get those certificates that are just so crucial for finding decent work later on.
Yeah, self-sufficiency, that's huge.
Huge. It directly impacts their ability to provide for themselves and their child in the Samoan economy.
And beyond just the books, what about the social side? School's a community too.
Absolutely. School can be a vital place for keeping those social connections, friendships, support networks. It can help counteract that isolation or stigma they might feel elsewhere, just like that National Safe Schools policy aims for.
Having that sense of normalcy must be important.
Incredibly important during such a big life change.
And the economic angle seems pretty clear-cut too.
Yeah, it really is. As the report notes, even students recognize education as the path to employment in Samoa, so supporting them to stay in school is basically an investment in their financial stability, their child's future, and reducing poverty overall.
There's also that idea of being a role model, isn't there?
Yes, definitely. A mother showing commitment to her education. That sets a powerful example for her child about the value of learning, especially within our Samoan context where family values are so strong.
And it just fits with the idea of inclusive education, right?
Fundamentally,
Yeah.
it treats pregnancy as, well, a condition that needs support, not a reason to deny someone the same opportunities everyone else gets in Samoa.
Those are really strong arguments for inclusion. But life isn't always straightforward. The report must acknowledge situations where maybe staying in the regular system isn't feasible or needs adjusting, especially thinking about Samoa.
Yes, it does take a balanced view. While integration should be the goal, you have to be realistic. Sometimes temporary adjustments or even leave might be necessary.
Like for health reasons.
Exactly. If there are significant health issues during the pregnancy or maybe right after the birth, adjustments might be medically required. And this could also tie into some Samoan cultural practices around that postpartum period, perhaps.
Okay, that makes sense. What other kinds of individual circumstances might need flexibility?
Things like maybe a lack of strong family support at home. Or think about travel getting to school can be tough, especially from some rural areas in Samoa.
Yeah, distance can be a real barrier.
Definitely. Or other really difficult personal challenges. In those cases, sticking to the regular school schedule might just be too much. We need other options.
So what kind of alternative options could work in Samoa? What does the report suggest?
It mentions things like perhaps homeschooling or maybe distance learning programs. These offer more flexibility, letting students learn from home, maybe at their own pace.
That could really help someone juggling childcare, for instance.
Exactly. And things like flexible class schedules, allowing excused time off for doctor's appointments or childcare needs, those are crucial practical supports. And really importantly, having clear, supportive ways for them to come back to school easily after they've had the baby.
It really sounds like it comes down to individual support. One size doesn't fit all.
That's the key takeaway, I think. Tailored counseling and guidance are essential. Students need help making informed choices based on their situation, their needs. And that support has to be culturally sensitive, understanding the Samoan context.
So are there systems like that in place? What does the report say about the actual support available now in Samoa?
Well, it notes that the existing inclusive education policy, the one for students with disabilities, could potentially be a framework. Maybe it could be broadened or adapted.
Okay, so using existing structures.
Potentially. And there are community resources like the Youth-Friendly Drop-In Center offering counseling and contraception. But the report also suggests that specific, dedicated support programs within schools designed just for pregnant students, those aren't widely documented.
So maybe gap there. within the schools themselves.
It seems like an area where more could perhaps be done. The main thing is ensuring pregnant students know what support is available, whether in school or in the community, and that they can access it easily and, confidentially.
And schools have a big role in linking students up with those resources.
A huge role, connecting them to healthcare, community programs, whatever internal support the school can offer, being that bridge.
Got it. And just quickly, what about the legal side? Is there anything like, say, Title IX in the U.S. that protects pregnant students' right to education in Samoa?
Not a direct equivalent like Title IX, no, but the fundamental human right to education is recognized, and Samoa is party to international agreements that support this. So the principle is there.
Right.
And the ministry's policy of encouraging them to stay in school definitely aligns with that global recognition of their right to education. It's not necessarily a specific law mandating it in the same way, but the policy direction is clear.
So the underlying right supports the policy.
Exactly. The MEC's proactive approach is really important in upholding that right for young women in Samoa.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, it feels like the main message is about finding that balance, doesn't it? Supporting pregnant teens' education in Samoa means focusing on inclusion, but also being flexible and culturally aware.
I think that's right. Encouraging them to stay in school should definitely be the main path because the benefits are so clear for them, their kids, the whole community.
But it takes more than just saying, stay in school.
Oh, definitely. It needs that multi-pronged approach we talked about. Strong, clear policies, maybe even formalizing the current encouragement into firmer regulations. It needs actual support systems in schools, counseling, health info, help connecting with community resources, all done in a culturally fitting way.
And tackling the stigma.
Crucial. National campaigns maybe involving community leaders, church leaders to really shift attitudes. And, as the report suggests, making comprehensive sex education mandatory could make a big difference too. Plus, strengthening ways to protect and support those whose pregnancies result from abuse.
It really brings home the long-term impact, thinking about the future for these young mothers, their children, and just the overall health of our Samoan society. It makes you wonder, what role can all of us play? Families, teachers, churches, community groups. How can we all help create that supportive space?
That's the question, isn't it? Building a Samoa where every young person, no matter what challenges they face, truly gets the chance to thrive.
Well, thank you for that insightful discussion. And thank you, our listener, for joining us on this deep dive. If you found this conversation valuable for our Samoan community, please do share this video with others, friends, family, colleagues, here or overseas.
Yeah, spread the word.
And for more deep dives into issues that matter to Samoa and the Pacific, make sure you subscribe to the Inati Creative channel. Fa Fete Lava.